So we're very fortunate to have the Ohio County Clerk, Michael E. Kelly with us today. Michael graduated from the Lindsley School in 1973 and earned his undergraduate degree from WVU 4 years later. He then graduated from the WVU College of Law in 1980 and passed the bar and began private law practice here in Wheeling. More recently, Mike has worked as an assistant prosecuting attorney in Ohio and Marshall counties, and he has served as a Chapter 7 trustee operating from the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the Northern District of West Virginia. He is a current member of the Board of Directors for the Tri-State Tax Institute. His wife, Catherine, is Director of Grants and Proposals at the Ogilvy Foundation. When Mike ran for his first term as clerk, he noted that storage space has long since run out in the clerk's office, resulting in some books being kept on the floor and others piled atop shelves where they're difficult to reach. The random storage locations made it difficult for users to find the books they need. Also, some public books are in the same office as the original documents, which could mean loss of both in the case of fire or other damage to the office. He envisioned using technology rather than books to free up space and save the county money. The realization of that vision is the topic of his presentation today, accessing digitized county records on the clerk's website. So please welcome Michael Kelly.
I have on the tables for you a card that has the website that will get you to this location. And a lot of people are using my old website and finding that when they get there, there's nothing there. Then we get phone calls saying, "What did you do with it?" I said, "Got to use the new website." It's OhioCountyWVClerk.com. And it will lead you to here. And let's just X out of this for a moment. And then go up.
At the bottom of the page, or put it up in advance and then scroll down there.
So this is where you're going to be coming into. And we have 4 pictures, and I'm going to be rotating those as things develop. But I want to point out to you the topics that are up here. And for a lot of people, that's very difficult to see on a screen. So what I did was, if you go down, I have these buttons. And they are the ones that really, until you get used to working on this site, these are the ones that you should go to. If you go back up a little bit, Earl, you notice that we have 2 buttons here. This one on this side is for the visually handicapped, and it will give you a lot of options and how to set up the screen for you to be able to view. We're not going to go through that. This is standard. It's not special. It's standard on sites that have that symbol. This is my artificial intelligence. Here you can ask a question. So we're going to put in here, how do you find an old deed?
What did I want? Oldest deed?
Old.
O-L-D-E-S-T?
Just O-L-D. And it's thinking. As you can see, it's very lengthy. So if you want to read, that's fine. And at the end, when you get to the bottom, it will have a location of where that information came from.
Can you print that out?
I haven't tried that. I don't know.
You can drag over, copy and paste it into Notepad or something, put it up.
But what I want to point out now, again, these are the locations of where that information came from. And I'm going to take the blame. I'm the one who authored everything that's going to pop up on here. This does not go outside of the website. But you know, that's a lot of reading. So let's go up to the question again. Or here you are.
Right here. You want me to shorten it?
Say, put it in one paragraph. And it summarizes it. So this will work on any question that you have. You can get the long, lengthy detail, or you can get it summarized. I just want you to know what's available. When you start asking questions, the questions that you previously asked are not going to be deleted. So if you go back up to this part, yes, it says close chat, and then it eliminates it, and it's gone. We're going to go back down further to the buttons.
Let me X out of that.
Yes, please.
Down at the bottom.
Yes. We're just going to go through the buttons very quickly so you can get an idea of what's there. General information, and if you go down to the bottom, it has about applying for a marriage license, contact information, office rules, probate practice. You don't need to really worry about that for what you all are going to be doing. Then you can exit out of there, going back up, and let's go to public forms.
Mike and I spent about 2 hours together yesterday going through this, but we shot the bull about a lot of other stuff. Okay.
Now, with this, these are forms, but I just want to go to the bottom a little bit. And you'll see these categories: birth certificates, death certificates, marriage certificates. What that does is it's going to explain something. So let's go to birth certificates. And it explains the process. And what you have to realize is birth certificates, marriage certificates, and death certificates are private information. They are not open to the public until 100 years after your birth, 50 years after your death, or 50 years after your marriage. But what this site does, what I tried to do was, I did not want people to find out how to do something, then have to get out of my website and go somewhere else to get the information. So if you come up a little bit more, here is the website that is for birth certificates from the state. The difference between a birth certificate from my office and from the state is my office will have the pretty border going around it with the very, very basic information. But if you get it from this website from the state, you can get everything. Whatever was sent about your birth is going to be on there. It's going to have the time, it's going to have the place that you were born. It's going to be very detailed. And for older situations, that's really great information.
How come nothing came up when I put my son's name in there?
Because he wasn't born 100 years ago, Earl. We did that yesterday.
We did. I did it again.
And we're going to get to the site where you can get more recent information. But I did this for each of the topics for birth, death, and marriage. So don't go on the birth certificate and try to find a death, okay? Go back one more step and you'll see where there's the death certificate right there. And then it will have the website right here for you to click and get to. So that's how that works. Let's go back to the buttons.
Back one more.
Yes. One more. We're going to go to land tax records. These are the series of books that contain the information of who owned the property, the description of the property that they had at the time, and what they paid or how it worked. This is really very helpful for tracing back your ancestors as to who owned property and when. These records go from 1845 to 2013. And the reason it stops now at 2013 is we, the clerk's office, will not get the records from the assessor's office for 10 years. So 10 years is 2013, and we just got those put on this week. Next year, of course, it'll be 2014. But if you go, and what I've done is I've outlined how you can go through the steps and learn how to do this, but we're going to take a shortcut, and we're going to show you, well, we're going to show you something else. This site is the one that does not have the books. This is the current. And if you go down, scroll down a little bit, this is an outline of the state of West Virginia. Any county that reports to this system is highlighted in blue. Let me tell you how fast this system works and how efficient. If you come into my office and say, Mike, what is the taxes that I owe on my property? I can pull this up, I can type your name in, tell you the dollar amount, you can write your check out, fill it out completely, walk down the hall 75 feet, give it to the sheriff's tax office, come back, and when you come back, this site is going to show that you paid it. It is that efficient. But the other thing with the real estate, let's go back to Ohio County, please.
Here?
No, where you were.
Oh, under real estate.
Yes, please.
Went back one.
Okay. And would you click on Ohio County? And let's just put Kelly.
What do you want me to put in?
Kelly.
Okay.
And then M-I-C-H.
Search by name.
Right, but add space M-I-C-H.
Oh, okay.
I recommend when you're doing these searches never to put in the person's full first name. Enter that.
Under search by
And it gives the properties. Let's just take this one here, the first one.
which link?
That's good. Now, what you get from this is you get a map and a parcel number, then you get the deed book and the page number. That's information for you to get started on your searches and how to do it. And it gives you an idea of what you're looking for as far as the description of the property. You can exit out. And we'll go back again.
One more.
We're going here to the Ohio County Assessor's GIS map. So now you want to find out where is this property. Let's just say that you don't have your cell phone to find out from Siri where you're to go on a travel. You can go to the GIS map.
And we found out yesterday you have to click log in, but you don't have to agree to it.
And we're going to, and then just X out here.
I'm sorry, oh, okay.
Now, who wants to volunteer an address?
I'll put mine in.
Okay, put yours in, Earl.
And I hope I pay my taxes.
Now, this doesn't show that, Earl. You're safe.
There, that's my house.
This is the description, and you can see how it's outlined in yellow going down. It gives you some information there, too, as to the deed book, but nothing really with tax information, who paid or who hasn't.
You can, I just zoomed by moving my mouse a little bit.
So this just are advantages of that website. And we'll get out of this one.
My car wouldn't just get soaked on one of these guys at football.
Now, this one, if you're just interested, is for the entire state of West Virginia. And what you have to do in order to, you want to click out so we can see.
Which one would we want to do? What?
Let's get out of this white box on the right. I like to pick on Cabell County. And if you would come over closer to the county line there. Yeah, no, yes, right there. And zoom in.
Maybe zoom in a little bit.
Now, with that, go up to layers and hit delinquent properties. Not close enough.
We discovered yesterday that we have to zoom in fairly far, otherwise it can't separate them out. So
This is a legend with the colors.
that's as good as it gets. Okay.
Legend with the colors of what the status of the delinquent properties are. And Earl, if you could drag over to the upper left-hand corner.
You want,
And see all those properties that are delinquent? So if you zoom in, and this occurs also in Wheeling, but if you zoom in, just keep on zooming in. And more. Now you can see where the properties are. Let's just take this one.
one I just took off, this one?
Yes. And when you zoom in further, it'll give you the information about the property, map, parcel number, and all that. So it helps you to locate. This, I'm going to take credit for this. We did this for Ohio County. The county commission came in with a delinquent property list when I started practicing as a county clerk. And they said, we have no idea where these properties are. Can you find them for me? So I went through them, I found them, and I identified them by map and parcel number. Then I got our assessor's mapper, or actually the emergency management systems mapper, and I said, his name is Dave Weaver, and I said, Dave, if I give you the map and parcel numbers, can you superimpose that on the maps so we can see where they are? He said, yeah. I said, how long will it take? He goes, oh, give me a day. And he had them done in a day. So we did that, and I went around showing people how they can buy pictures of any property area that they wanted to look at in Ohio County. And after we did that, and it was a huge success, the state auditor was coming up for the Italian American Festival, and I said to Dave, we can do this now for the state, can't we? He goes, oh yeah, this state agency, if they are given the information, they can do it. So J.B. McCuskey came up and I showed him the map and he's holding it and he goes, this is great. A developer can come in and see where there's a bunch of delinquent properties and maybe develop in that area. And I said, it can be done for the entire state. And he looked at me and I said, Dave, tell him. So Dave explained to him how it was done. JB looked at his chief deputy and said, I want this accomplished. In about a little over a year, we have this. So it's available anywhere. We're going to get out of it now. And to the next button.
Where do you want to work?
Oh, wait,
Land records?
yeah, let's go to this. I forgot about this. These are the records from 1845 to 2013. And you can choose any time frame you want. These records are very extensive, but when we set up the program, we did it so that they download in increments of 10 pages, so it doesn't take long to get to any time period. And just to give you an example, let's just choose this one. Yeah, let's choose that. Isn't that what we were planning to do? And you can see when you zoom in the names in the district that it's in and the such. Now, unfortunately,
I want to stop you for a minute. I have a question for you. You know you're being set up. That first page says there are 500 and some thousand pages altogether of these books.
there's
Over 500,000 pages in these PDF files altogether.
probably
How did those get scanned?
one page at a time.
By who?
The majority were done by Chesapeake, but they stopped about 15 years ago, and I did those.
He probably wouldn't have said that, but that came up in our conversation yesterday, and to me, some of you probably scanned documents. I don't know how many hours he spent scanning these, but it's incredible. That is, we're proud of that. I had to interrupt you just to say that.
Oh, thank you. The
I screwed up.
That's all right. Sometimes when you're going through the list, well, first of all, when you get into the old records, you're not going to get to some place real quick. You're going to have to look at the district, and the district's changed over the years in Ohio County, and you're going to have to look at the description of the property and the names and try to locate whose property you want. It takes time. It's not something that goes fast. And we'll get out of this one.
I'm cheating a little bit. I right-click the link, open link to a new tab. I brought the PDF up in this window, and I don't know if that's kosher, but I can go over and hit save and save that PDF and look at it offline. Okay. Back arrow.
And we're just going to advance a little further. Let's go to, get out of that one, and let's go to 2001. And we're going to go to 2013. In the past, when property got transferred, they would put in the next year's book, the new owner. Then off to the right, they would, in their handwriting, put from the seller. So in order to match up properties, you'd have to sort of go through the property list and then look to see if you can see who it came from to make sure you were talking about the same property. Because you can imagine, back then, people were dealing with farms, and now all of a sudden, they're giving off 15 or 20 acres to someone. Well, you don't know what that is called back then, and they didn't have GIS maps. So they would just on the side put the new owner with their 15 acres, and then over on the side in their handwriting put from the seller. So you need to spend time looking at them. But today we do it a little bit differently. We put the seller's name in for the following year, and then it will say, so let's just leave it this way. I don't know if you can you go up a little bit more? Because these pages, this is page, let's say it's page 1. This is the information of the names. This is still page 1. So when you open the book, this is on the left. This part is on the right, and it's straight across for you to look at. And it's not so well seen right now, but there's lines going through. Luckily, you have these numbers here to help you match this with this, and you can see who they're pertaining to. But it gives you the information of the new owner and how that's done. So it's just a means of finding some information out a little faster.
You want me to read that bottom? You can't read it from the screen, but this down here says from Seabright Jack A. and Danielle L. and some other information. So that's what's on the right-hand side. And then that corresponds to what, this or one of these two? Probably the top one. Okay.
And we'll go back to the next button. One more out. Next one.
Back one.
Yes, please.
Back one more screen. Okay.
Now, we're going to hear, and this is the one that you all are going to be most interested in, I think, the online search. Our online search system is broken into 2 time frames. January 1, 1993 to current, whatever current is. And before that, it's in the vault. And that is from 1770 until December 31, 1992. And there are 2 different ways of looking for it. Again, I have things that might help you in trying to find out and how to explain what documents are. But if you go up, Earl. Now, I want you to realize we have a plat book index for you to find plats in them. But yeah, it's just an index. They're in alphabetical order, so they're not in order of books. We'll just get out of that. But we're going to go to the search for Ohio County land records. This is the index page. This is the page that is the more current from 1993 to now. Anything that has been recorded in the office during that time period is going to be on here. And you can see Earl has put in information about about him, and it's all there. People call me and tell me, I can't find it. I said, if you put in the right information and you don't see it, it's not there. We don't have it. We don't have private little information and then what we shared with the public. If you brought it in to record it, it's on here. So if you don't see it, we don't have it. Well, I can't find my father's will. You didn't bring it in. Now, if you just go ahead and take one of yours and double click it. We want to go to the image. And it goes down and it gives you all of the information. The big thing that I want to show you about this right now is this box up here. This box tells you the type of record that you're looking at. But what's neat is that you can go down and choose other boxes. So we're going to go down further. Plat book.
Where is it?
Down further.
It scrolls down.
Okay, plat. Now, you're set up right now to look at plats. Someone name out a number between 1 and 5.
3.
Put 3 in.
I'm slow because it would let me take typing in high school because it was all girls and they just thought I wanted to be in that class because it was all girls. And I wish I'd taken typing.
Were they right?
I probably shouldn't say.
Name a page.
25.
Enter. This is your plat, and you can see it here. So you can examine. Now, we can't show you here on this site because you have to log in for the purpose of printing. But I want to tell you, you have two options when you go to print a document from the website. You can type the entire page, and it's going to be on regular size paper. You can imagine a document this size on a regular sheet of paper. You can't read the doggone thing. But if you were going to do something, you would print this page out and then zoom in. Let's just zoom in here.
Let's see if I can do that on the screen. There we go.
And see how much bigger it is? Let's stop right there. Now, if you go back to print, it'll have as an option, visible portion. And if you hit that, this is what's going to come out. You're not going to get the whole thing. You're going to get exactly what you're looking at in that size. So that is of assistance to you, especially if you're with the older documents, trying to read someone's script writing from 100 years ago. Sometimes you just have a real difficult time. So those are the options there with this. Let's get out of here. And let's go back to, this is how you get into the old records, Vault Search. Now the first screen that comes up, Diana will be able to verify this, is if you're in my office and you're using books, you've got, and if you don't know what page you're looking for, you've got to find it. So you have to go over to this cabinet that is probably almost 12 feet from left to right and about 5 feet tall, and it has all these index books in them. These books are now right here. If you click that, all of the different types of books that exist in the time frames, you have to choose the type of book that you're looking for in the time frame that you want and look for a document that way. We're going to do City of Wheeling, so go ahead, click that and enter it. This is a good year time period. Go back, choose AZ. Okay, and now we're going to go in here and go down till we find W. Too far. Keep on going up. A little further. We passed it.
Let me try it this way. Whoa. Let's try it. Let me go back again. My mouse is
Touchy.
a little bit touchy.
Okay, and just a little bit further down.
Hit the down arrow and it went down arrow. Let me try one more time. I told you guys I'd screw this up. The error is human. To really screw things up requires a computer. Stop that.
But anyhow, you would be able to go through the indexes and find the city of Wheeling. What I was looking for was the courthouse. So I was looking for the courthouse, and I found it. And what was interesting was the deed that it made reference to.
Not sure why my exactly what.
The deed said the western half of lots that are bounded on the west by Chaplin Street, formerly called 4th Street. And you're going, 4th Street? Water Street, Market Street, Water Street, Main Street, Market Street, Chaplin, 4th. Then it says on the south side by 16th Street, formerly called Main Street. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how many, can you imagine doing title searches and looking for the streets that we know today? And it's not, it's the old names, and how screwed up that can be. And of course, they made reference to Oof Street as being 5th Street. So it's just interesting to see these things and how to look at them. Going through these records, when they're not the ones that you really want, can consume a lot of time. One time I was going through a book and I found this deed and I start reading it and I went, oh no, the clerk put a will in the deed book. And I kept on reading it because it started out, times are rough and I'm really sad and I'm scared of the future and just going on, that made you think that it's a will. And I look at the date, and it's April 1861. Civil War started. And I thought, this guy is going to go off to war. And I'm reading it, and he's putting all of his property into trust for the benefit of his wife. And it says, and I am to have absolutely nothing to do with the trust or any aspect of the property. And I thought, wow, that is really an irrevocable trust. So I keep on going, well, I don't know who this guy is. And I sent a message to Gene Finstein and said, do you know who this person is? An hour later, I get a stack of papers, and it turns out the guy was an attorney who, when he graduated from law school, went to St. Clairsville, practiced there for a few years, then came to Wheeling and practiced here. He was appointed by President Polk to be one of 3 representatives from the state of Virginia to negotiate with the people from Ohio as to who owns the Ohio River. And he did that, and obviously the Ohio River is named after the state of Ohio from years ago, but West Virginia owns the Ohio River. Then they started putting the suspension bridge in. When they did, Pittsburgh sued Wheeling in the United States Supreme Court. And the United States Supreme Court ruled in favor of Pittsburgh, saying you can't do that. You're affecting navigation on the water with the smokestacks. So the people of this area elected this man to go to Congress for the purpose of rewriting the laws and getting rid of the Supreme Court decision. He went there in one term and rewrote the laws for navigation on national waterways. What's amazing is many of those laws still exist today. He came back, and because of his great duties, they elected him as a circuit court judge of the 20th Judicial Circuit of Virginia. And he served there, and I guess did a great job until the Civil War, when his loyalty went with the state of Virginia. And he knew he was going to lose his judgeship, and he was concerned that he was going to lose his property. So he conveyed the property, as I said, in trust to his wife, Elizabeth Steenrod Thompson. So that gives you an idea of all about Mount Tashano area and all those areas out there. But what also was interesting was they had two children, a son and a daughter. Son graduated from Lindsley. He went to law school, I don't know where. When he graduated, the Civil War had just started. He went down south and joined the Marion Cavalry down there, and he was a colonel in the cavalry and fought in major skirmishes in the southern part of now West Virginia. When the war was over with, instead of coming back here, he went directly to Illinois and started practicing law. Somehow or another, he got connected with the Rockefellers. They wanted him to go back to now the southern part of the state of West Virginia and buy land for them in order for them to put railroad lines down. So can you imagine this guy showing up years later into an area where his people are, and they're going, "Colonel, you came back!" And he's going, "Yeah, I need to buy some land for the railroad. Whatever you want." And he got what they needed. He turned out to be one of the first trustees of the first Rockefeller Trust, and served in that capacity for years until one evening he was having a dinner party at his home, and he came down the steps, came into the living room to greet his friends, and just dropped dead. So anyhow, that's the kind of stuff that you find as you're going through this that makes it very interesting. I showed you the plat book, and let's go to the vault. So we're going to go here. Let's go back to the vault. Now, this is the current things that are here. And what I want to show you is, when someone, property is transferred in various ways. It can be transferred by a written document, which we call a deed, or it can be transferred by someone's death. And if it's by death, it's by will or no will. If it's a will, it's called testate. If it's no will, it's called intestate. And you can look up on this site, go to Fiduciary Index books to find things. Let's do that. Let's go to the vault. And I'm going to we're not going to go through the labor of trying to find a document, because I really don't care. But once you have the information that you need, book and page number, then you go to this, image search. Now it's asking you, okay, you want to look at a particular book. You don't want to look at the index books. You want to look at the book. So we're going to go to here. And we have options of books. Okay, and let's go down a little bit more, and we're going to find fiduciary.
There's a lot of stuff on which book do you want?
Fiduciary, a little higher up.
Yeah.
There it is, right there.
Is this bid?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, we're just going to choose a book. So let's just say book 15, and let's just say page 8.
8 or 8?
I don't care. What I did, so you can see here, this page was left blank, okay.
Okay, let's do 79.
Let's make this 200. In the old books, when the clerk did them, he did not put on the top of the page the volume number. He just put the page number. Well, if you make a photocopy of these pages from the books and you made a lot of copies and you drop them on the floor and you pick them up, which book are you dealing with? So what I did was I had the books, not another one. Okay. How about 250, Earl?
250?
Yes. Sometimes when the clerks went and did these back then, I can't explain it, but one day they stopped at page 43 and the next day they started at page 60. I can't explain why they just didn't scratch it out and start at the right number, but they did that a lot. But anyhow, with these books, you can see, okay, go up a little bit, stop, a little bit more, a little bit more, okay. You can see the name of the parties and who the heirs were and their relationship and where they were from. So that will help you in determining whether or not you have the family that you want to look for. And it gives you information about date of death and as such.
Mike, how far back do those records go, the fiduciary?
I looked, they go back to about 1850, thereabouts. That's when they started that series of books. Okay? Now, just for the fun of it, I'm going to show you something else. If you go up here to fiduciary book, we're going to do two different books. Go a little higher up, Earl. Okay, stop, stop. And we're going to go with deed book.
This one?
Yes. And let's just put in here book 1.
Oh, this ought to be fun.
Page 1.
I think I know what's on this.
Now, this is how they described property back then, trees. And what is of interest to me is when they give degrees as time goes on, they say 4 degrees west. Well, today we go 4 degrees, 1 minute, 30 seconds west. They didn't do that back then.
This is the deed
So this is a deed
from
that,
Abraham Van Meter to Ohio County for the 2 acres in West Liberty on which was built the first court of Ohio County. I knew what was book 1, page 1.
but what's funny is go a little further down. A little further. Okay, stop. Read this one.
I'll read it from the screen. This is to certify that I, the subscriber, did sometime ago advertise, John, I didn't have kindergarten, so I don't read very well, to have taken a black mare away from me clandestinely. I do now with sorrow and reluctance own now the advertisement to be false and groundless, given under my hand this 3rd day of April 1778. Jacob Crow.
So you have some guy who claims someone stole his horse and he knew it to be a lie and he published it as such. And when he was finally confronted, he said I did lie, and they said, we want you to put that on record so everyone can see that you're a liar. And there it is. Just different things. Why it's in a deed book, I don't know, but it is.
Back for a minute to who deeded the land for the courthouse. Abraham McCullough? Is that right?
I believe it was
Abraham Van Meter.
Van Meter, okay.
Van Meter.
He actually had died before the courthouse was born, so his
Okay. Thank you.
son-in-law followed up.
Today, most of the deeds that we do at the end have a being clause. And it says, being the same property that was conveyed to Michael Kelly from so-and-so by deed dated such and such. They didn't do that back then. So it makes your job more difficult to trace property back. You have to keep on going back to the index book. And that's where you get grantor, grantee. You would then look, because you know who Van Meter is, he gave it to West Liberty, or to Ohio County, but you don't know where he got it from. So you would have to go into the grantee index for that time period and look for his name to see where he got it. Chances are when you're back at this point, you're going to go into patent, and that there's a land patent and a land grant. The difference between a patent and a grant is that a patent is from the government entity to an individual. A grant is from a governmental entity to another governmental entity. So that's the difference, and it's explained on the website. But we're going to go back to survey book.
Survey book?
Yes.
Which one? Oh, that's Shirley.
No.
Actually, what book and what page?
How about going back? I want survey.
Yeah, survey.
Okay, click that one. Page 1, and let's go with 90. 90. Can you make it smaller?
Apparently not. But I can make it
With your fingers.
all screwed.
Well, anyhow, you can see this is for 1,000 acres, and it tells where this person got it. And back then, if you were in service to the government, such as a revolutionary soldier, when you came out, they didn't have money to pay you, so they gave you a right to so many acres. And you can see 1,000 acres, part of a treasury warrant for the acres. And you were allowed to go anywhere within that state, which was a colony before, and pick your land and mark it and have it surveyed. Well, in order to have it surveyed, you'd have a surveyor. Did you have money to pay the surveyor? No. So what you did was you said, I'm entitled to 1,000 acres here. I'm going to give you 10 acres, a warrant for 10 acres, and I will only claim 980 or 990 acres out of my 1,000. So you would do the paper transfer, and the surveyor would get 10 from you, 10 from you, 10 from you, or 100, whatever, depending upon the fee that he charged. And now he would have all those warrants, and he could now go out and collect. One of the people that did that was Robert Woods, and he collected a lot of land around here by doing the surveying. So these warrants were transferred back and forth. You were injured in the Revolutionary War. You were never, ever going to be a farmer. but you had this warrant for 2,000 acres. You would sell parts of it to different people for the best price that you could get. And they would take your interest and build a mass of warrants with it and collect land from it. So all of this is just really interesting. And some of them, this is 1,000 acres. We found one yesterday for $4,000 or $5,000, and there's some that, I'm sorry, 4,000 or 5,000 acres, and there's others that even are bigger. But it just, and you can see the description, no minutes, no seconds, and everything is a straight line. I found one that had of interest to me. Can you go to book 2, page 90?
Did you say 90?
Yes.
What happens when you get an old guy who's got irrigation? Where's that from that irrigation?
This is 4,000 acres. And when I read the description, starting at the Ohio River and going out, it made me think, and with Middle Creek there, I started out in Triadelphia with Middle Creek and followed it back to the Ohio River. And I thought, heck, that's right by the Civic Center. And I wondered if this guy at one time had downtown Wheeling, with property going out towards Middle Creek. I haven't finished the search on that one, just a matter of curiosity. But no, as you go up, if you scroll up, you can see the description a little further. That goes with it. My point with all of this is that you have a lot of information here and you're able to use it. The fiduciary books that you see there, the settlement books, all of those provide names. Fiduciary books are just telling who died, who got appointed, and who are the people that are either the heirs at law or the people that were the devisees of the will, who were the beneficiaries of the will. The settlement books, again, can show you not just what they got, but who got it, and to help you connect names with people. Unfortunately, they weren't real detailed back then as to if someone died, who their heirs were. So you sort of have to read carefully. But these records have an awful lot of information for you. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Do these books eliminate when you would go in the county building and see people lying down the hallways?
Yes.
Or laptop?
Yes. When I started, that was the situation. We had an average of about 35 people in our office every day doing searches. Since February the 23rd to today, I don't think we've had 70 people in our office. And those who do come in because they want to get the hell out of their office and see other faces. But everything is here.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Did everybody get a card for the website? They're on your tables. Make sure you do that so you have the right web address to get into these records. Wow, what an incredible amount of work. And what a great shortcut for all of us who are trying to do online research. I've been in that, and many of you have, I'm sure, too, been in the clerk's office. And I'm reasonably able-bodied, trying to pull these volumes that are this big and this thick off a shelf and not knowing where the hell to look. So this is a huge contribution. So, in view of that, Mike, we have for you today, in token of our appreciation, to Michael E. Kelly, who is hereby awarded the Certificate of Appreciation in recognition of outstanding support given to the Sons of the American Revolution, September 23rd, 2023. And this isn't just for today's presentation. This is for what you made happen to realize the vision of having all of these incredible resources online and accessible. Thank you. And huge